Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. Wanted to touch bases with you. As many of you know, that I went to Sacramento just a couple weeks ago, and I wanted to discuss the hot topics that were spoken at CAR and why we went and spoke with the legislators, because it doesn't just affect realtors, but it also affects homeowners, and that's why we go to Sacramento. Now, I wanted to have a small disclaimer because I am not completely politician. Don't know all the rules and regulations in regards to being politics and everything in regards to that. So I don't act like I know everything. So I'm just going to read to you what CAR has put out and what has shared and the reasoning why they support it and the reasoning why they deny it in different aspects and what it's supporting and what it helps. So that way then you can then make a decision on which way you want to vote, or maybe you want to contact your congressman or your assemblyman or woman and talk with them and see how you would like them to be able to vote. So the first one I'm going to be talking about is AB 1590 Rubio, which is a first-time low and moderate income homebuyer tax credit for disadvantaged communities, and CAR is asking to sponsor. The reason why CAR is sponsoring it is because it creates a first-time home buyer tax credit for low and moderate income individuals and families purchasing a home in disadvantaged communities. CAR is supporting AB 1590 because it will help working families purchasing a home to achieve the dream of home ownership. The background is that the existing law identifies disadvantaged communities as areas with, among those things, concentrations of low-income individuals and families facing high housing costs. These communities exist in all areas of the state. With the housing crisis worsening, opportunities for first-time homeownership in disadvantaged communities are limited due to increasing costs, especially in California's workforce families. Assembly Bill 1590 allocates $50 million to help first-time homebuyers who, one, have never owned a primary principal residence. So this first-time homebuyer tax credit defines a first-time homebuyer as never owning a home, whereas in the past it was not owning a home in the past 3 years. It also defines it as earning 120% or less of the area median income and are purchasing a home in a disadvantaged community. Now, we don't know how they're going to define disadvantaged community just yet, so we're going to need to see how they're going to define that. The tax credit is equal to 3% of the purchase price of the home, or 5,000, whichever is less. And why is CAR sponsoring AB 1590? Because it will increase home ownership rates in the underserved communities in 2018. California's home ownership rate was only 55.2%, the second lowest in the country. Home ownership is desirable not just for families, but for communities where every 2 homes sold, a new job is created. AB 1590 also steps on the home ownership ladder. Owning a home presents the best opportunity for most families to be able to build wealth. AB 1590 will help improve the quality of life in underserved communities. Home ownership is tied to better educational performance, improved health, and lower crime rates in the community in which the home is located. AB 1590 will help first-time low and moderate income homebuyers cover unanticipated costs associated with home ownership, because purchasing a home can come with many unforeseen expenses, including unanticipated repairs. These unforeseen expenses can often leave working families struggling to maintain home ownership. So CAR is respectfully asking that we vote yes on AB 1590. So feel free to contact your assemblyman or your congresswomen and men and to be able to let them know how you would like them to vote, because we are their constituents, and when we're out and on the floor, they're the ones that are going to want to listen to us and hear from us. Sorry, my insulin pump is going off, so many of you know that I am a type 1 diabetic, so every once in a while my pump goes off, so I apologize that it went off for a second. So the next one we're going to talk about is SB 50 Weiner, which is housing development incentives, and CAR is sponsoring this because it seeks to authorize the implementation of transit job-rich housing project bonuses for new developments. CAR is co-sponsoring SB 50 because the bill will help increase the supply of much-needed housing and help families afford to live within the communities in which they work. The background is that SB 50 in density bonuses encourages the development of mid-rise multi-family housing construction with close walkable access to rail and ferry transits. So what they're saying is they're wanting to be able to have more housing within the transit areas. So near a train, near bus stations, to be able to have more housing there to limit the amount of traffic and to be able to have more housing, because in California, obviously, we do have a housing crisis because we have such a shortage of homes. So SB 50 enables a tiered amount of affordable housing depending on the development size, and SB 50 creates more flexibility by permitting local government to approve ordinances that may include in lieu fees, land dedication, off-site construction, or acquisition and rehabilitation of existing units in order to meet the affordable housing set aside. Under SB 50, local governments may approve higher density housing with a reduced or eliminated parking requirement, provided that the site is adjacent to transit or near jobs. Builders will now be allowed to determine the amount of parking necessary to fit the needs of the development. So this is saying that basically they're going to let the builders decide how many houses their parking areas are going to need based on the housing. Because it's going to be near a transit, it's going to encourage homeowners that live in those developments to not necessarily have to own a car, because they'll be able to walk to the bus stations or to the train stations and take the train to be able to allow also helping with traffic. So that will help as well. SB 50 applies to counties with population of over 600,000 or in cities with over 50,000 residents, and counties with fewer than 600,000 residents will have a modified density bonus. So why is CAR sponsoring this? Because more housing units must be built. The state has 49% the lowest rate of housing units per the residents and has a rental vacancy of 4.4% last year. Job growth far outpaces housing starts. Rents are rising faster than wages and are making up a greater percentage of the family's budget. Barriers to build housing units include cost. By encouraging the use of density or height bonuses, builders will be able to develop more efficient units. It's also environmentally responsible to build near transits. Facilitating the development of more housing near transits encourages occupants to use more environmentally friendly modes of transportation, like the buses and the train stations. Preserves local control on many issues. It allows development consistent with the local government's general plan and housing element. Planning zone and design decisions are left to the local government. And so CAR is respectfully requesting that we vote yes on SB 30 and call your senates or your congressmen and assemblymen to be able to vote yes on that and ask them to do that, because we do have a shorting supply of housing. So we do need more housing. The next one is going to be SB 329 Mitchell, which is a mandatory Section 8, and we're asking for an opposed vote on this. And before I get into what this is, I want to make it very clear. Alex Creel mentioned, and I like the way that he studied our staff at CAR, says that we are not against Section 8. We are against making sources of income or ways of making rental payments as a protected class. So kind of like the sex and religion and all those are protected classes, are trying to make low income be, or your modes of income be a protected class. So what SB 329 is which it enforces all all residential rental property owners to involuntarily participate in all government assistance and housing subsidiary programs, including Section 8 housing. CAR opposes SB 329 because it forces landlords into contracts, the terms of which may require the landlord to keep the property off the market for a sustained period of time. The background in this is, under current law, participation by a rental property owner in the Department of Housing and Urban Development's Housing Choice Voucher Program, more widely known as Section 8, is voluntary. Under SB 329, which redefines the sources of income, to include Section 8, every residential rental property owner will be effectively forced to enter into a contract with the local housing authority, which requires inspections and certain other administration requirements. Because many housing authorities already lack the resources to process applications and inspect properties quickly, units may sit unoccupied for many weeks until all the administrative requirements are met. Property owners will not be able to recoup that lost income as well. So the reasons why CAR wants us to oppose SB 329 is because it forces landlords into a binding contracts. Participating in Section 8 requires that a property owner willingly enter into a contract with a local housing authority. SB 329 will force landlords into those contracts, even if it is extremely difficult for them to comply with all their inspections and administrative requirements. So along those lines, if they have an inspection and they come in and they look and they say, okay, well, I want this done, and this done, now the homeowner has to repair these, and these, not saying that it's a bad area or a bad home, but they have certain guidelines that have to be done. And if those aren't met, then it's going to be having that property be vacant for longer. And then once it's approved, then they can move forward and be able to have it rented to these individuals. And so we'll be able to, now it's going to be sitting for longer, and that homeowner is not going to be able to recoup those losses for it being sitting on the market for 30, 60, 90 days while they're trying to get this approved. Complex inspection and administrative delays keep available units off the market. Because housing authorities are understaffed, it can take as long as 60 days before applications are submitted, inspections are made, and contracts are signed. During that time, the unit sits vacant and substantial loss to the property owner. SB 329 doesn't fix the underlying problems with Section 8. Instead of fixing Section 8 to attract more landlords to voluntarily participate in the program, SB 329 creates new mandates. SB 329 affects all rental property owners, even those with only one rental unit. So Section 8 requires property owners to abide by federal regulations that differ from state and local laws. Many property regulations which compromise their ability to provide quality housing at reasonable rents. If their one rental unit needs to be kept unoccupied for any amount of time to allow for inspections and other requirements of Section 8, that property owner will be left without income while it sits vacant. So CAR is respectfully asking that we vote no on SB 329 because we don't want any more rules and regulations on homeowners who want to rent out their properties. It's your property, it's your property rights. We want you to be able to rent it out to those that you have, that you want to rent it out to without having certain guidelines that you have to meet every single time. So that's the reasoning why we want to have a no on this one. So again, just go over AB 1590 is a yes, SB 50 is a yes, and SB 329 is a no. So I respectfully ask that you help out. We're all for home ownership. We're all protecting homeowners and being able to move forward with being able to help our housing crisis, to be able to get more units built so that we can then have more affordable housing. It's all kind of tied together, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Join me next week. I'm going to have Erica Manzano with Financial Architects, and we're going to be discussing tips and sharing tips with you to be able to save money for your down payment so that you can then buy your first home or buy your new home. And we're going to show you how to do that through financial planning. Because now maybe if this tax credit can go through, maybe you first-time home buyers, we can help you save up money now so when that comes through, then you can take advantage of the first-time home buyer tax credit if it passes. Thanks so much for watching, guys. And remember, if you're looking to buy or sell real estate, give me a call. Lisa's your realtor, 909-583-7844. See you next week. Bye.